Well, howdy, y'all. Hey, I'm sorry for not making a video in a few weeks. I got a lot of stuff written down. I'm way behind, like a month behind on some stuff. I got a lot of ideas. Busy doing some other stuff in my personal life. I got other things I gotta do. Sorry I have been neglecting y'all. It's my bad. I'm not as studious or persistent or consistent as I should be with these videos. But I'm just gonna throw this one out there. It's gonna be garbage. It's gonna be garbage, poorly edited, and you're just gonna tolerate it. But hey, guess what? It's an article about abortion. So somebody sent me on Google Plus this article from Fusion.net. I'm just gonna read it. I'm not gonna put a lot of production into this. Fuck it. But I'm gonna use a bad sound quality, bad language, bad everything. Let's just have fun. This is gonna be sort of like a V thing. I'm just gonna read this article. And I haven't read this. It's going to be cold. This is going to be like a very first thing for me. I may put some screenshots up. I don't know. But this is from Fusion.net. The article is by Kristen V. Brown. I'm going to be smoking. Pardon my voice and water and so forth. So hey, get there with me. Now, the title of this article is I Had an Abortion, and it was a totally joyful experience. This was published on March 1st, 2016 at 10 a.m., essentially. So about a little more than 24 hours ago. So I'm just going to read it straight. I got like 2 sentences in. And so here we go. The article says, or Kristen says, I shouldn't have been pregnant. I was on the pill. Yeah, right, you physiological mutant. You didn't screw up taking the pill. You didn't forget. No. You're just some reproductive mutant who the absolute biological science of endocrinology doesn't apply to. No, Kristen, you are a completely unique human being who just pumps out babies because that's what God and nature intended you to do. Oh, wait, no, it's not, because you killed it. Well, let's go on. And yet, I knew that I was because I could feel my entire body rebelling against me. I was no longer in control. You weren't in control before. You forgot to take a pill, you dumb woman. A trip to the drugstore, and 3 minutes later I had confirmed that the dizzying nausea, the feverishness, and the aching were not the result of the flu bug that was going around, as I had hoped. Instead, they were the horrifying conclusion to a regrettable night. A regrettable night. Oh my god, I sense there might have been a rape accusation pondering in her head. I said, everything about this is women hyperbole. Just lie. They lie by their nature. A trip to the drug, and 3 minutes later, I doubt she showed up at the drugstore and within 3 minutes knew she was pregnant. I think what she meant to say is 3 minutes after peeing onto a stick, she realized she was pregnant. And I said, what is she, an amateur? Any woman who's been pregnant before had to hold herself accountable to a man who considered keeping the child and considered being a human being and informing the man that he impregnated her, that he sort of, may or may not have a child out there one day, that, he might want to, how shall I say, use a condom next time so he doesn't have just children all over the place. No, she's not a human being who informs the would-be father. She's just like, it was regrettable. I let that guy come in me just because I'm a whore. And, she just, I'm not even going to tell him. So, okay. So she had a regrettable night of sex. This is funny, because the title of the article is The Abortion Was Enjoyable. It was a joyful experience. So the sex was regrettable, but the abortion was joyful. That's how sick these women are. Now moving on. Okay. I had just finished grad school, of course, God, and moved upstate from New York City, of course, to Albany, of course, Jesus Christ, to start a 1.5-year-long newspaper fellowship. Oh, God. master's in journalism. She's writing about this. You know, journalists are supposed to investigate things. You're not supposed to tell the tale of your abortion. It's not really journalism. That's like blogging. I didn't have friends, but I did have an OkCupid account. I met a nice enough guy there, and we dated for a few weeks until he bought a house and a puppy, and made clear that he was rapidly heading towards settling down. What an asshole! What an asshole! So she was just looking for some free dates and some free dick. So the moment, this is these modern day middle 20s women, the moment he got serious, which is why everything women say is a lie. Well, this guy's, he was not afraid of commitment. She's afraid of it. I mean, and I'm freestyling this. This is going to be like a V thing. It's probably going to run like 20, 30, 40 minutes. This is fantastic. Although I'm off my strike. All right, okay. We parted ways. But a few weeks later, on yet another friendless Friday night, I asked him out to dinner. I drank too much. I don't especially remember how we wound up back at his place. I do remember asking him to wear a condom. Yeah, right. She doesn't remember how she got to the place, but she does remember asking him to wear a condom. I also remember being too out of it to effectively protest when he declined. You didn't care. I'm going to finish this paragraph. The next day, I made an appointment for an STD test. So she had been dating this guy for weeks. She had been dating this guy for weeks. He gets her. She hadn't had sex with him. Or maybe she did. I don't know. But, she's horny. It's a Friday night. She's ovulating. She's obviously ovulating that week. And so, if you know anything about endocrinology and neurology and human behavior, or animal behavior in general. So what happened here was she was probably in baby making mode. Right? She had probably forgot the previous 2 or 3 days to take her birth control pill. And so what had happened, she just slipped her mind. Right? She's not having sex. She's been dating this dude. She's not sexually aroused. Right? Okay? She forgot. But she's horny. You know, she wants company. She's alone. It's Friday night. So what she does is, she doesn't understand the subconscious reasons why all of a sudden she's really horny. Well, all of a sudden she forgot to take a birth control pill for 2 or 3 days. Her uterus is kicking back in. It's like, well, hey, hold on. I thought we were pregnant. We're not pregnant. Ovulate. And her reproductive system is ovulating. She gets horny. She's like, crap. Well, I don't like this guy, but shit, I'm horny. And she lies. She's horny. She asks him to use a condom. And anyone who's had sex with women habitually, multiple women habitually, knows they don't really care. They like the unsheathed warmth feeling of the penis. They love pre-cum. They love semen. They love it in them, dripping out of them, the taste of it on them. They're into it. Don't let them lie to you about it. We won't get into the antidepressant effects, the immunological effects of semen. We won't get into why, the biological and evolutionary reason, why women want semen in them and on them, around them. We won't get into that. Right? Nature evolved a certain way to encourage men and women to have sex for a number of different reasons, but primarily for reproduction, survival, reproduce. So what's happening here is she said a bunch of shit. The sex wasn't that great. The guy probably came a little too quick because, he'd been trying to bang this chick for a few weeks and she wasn't putting out. And when she finally puts out, he doesn't have a condom. He wasn't going to screw it up by stopping by the convenience store picking something up. That's not a player. He's on OkCupid. He's picking up feminist chicks on OkCupid in Albany, fucking New York. He's not the kind of guy that has 12 condoms in his nightstand. He's not that dude. So he gets a chick back at his place. She's drunk. She's horny. She's in breeding mode. He didn't know that. Friday night. He's already shoveled maybe $50 worth of drinks down her. He's not gonna get a condom. So because he didn't have a condom, because he's been holding in for a while, he really wants it. Probably came a little bit too quick. So the sex probably wasn't that great. So, sorry for not finishing this, but this is kind of a new technique. hilarious. And pardon the bad audio editing and words and stuff. Consider this like a M does V kind of homage. Sorry about those noises too. Alright, so picking the article back up. I also remember being too out of it to effectively protest when he declined to wear a condom. The next day I made an appointment for an STD test. Blocked his number, unfriended him on Facebook, and sincerely hope to never see him again. Alright, so the sex was bad. Sex was bad, the guy did care, he finally caved at her boob. Now continue. Getting pregnant was one of the darkest points in my life. I was broke from quitting my job, oh my god, going back to school, and then accepting a low-paying fellowship. I was alone, and living in a brand new city that I hated. When I did get an abortion just a few weeks into my pregnancy, I had to ask a coworker I barely knew to fulfill the requirement of staying by my side for the brutal hours after I took my abortion pill. If you're still within 9 weeks, the pill is a non-invasive alternative to a surgical procedure that lets you have an abortion from the comfort of your own home. But it comes with a small risk of excessive bleeding. I offered my coworker pizza and booze in exchange for coming over to make sure I didn't accidentally pass out and bleed to death while curled up in pain on my bathroom floor. Now, what I have to ask here is she doesn't use the proper pronoun. She avoids, who offers pizza and booze in exchange for monitoring someone's vagina? Alright, it's weird. I'm so picturing in my head her beta douchebag coworker boyfriend. You know what I mean? Like her simpering male feminist fucking coworker who, wants to have sex with her. This sort of subconscious sort of abuse women do to men that they think are betas and below. Just sort of, tolerate my bullshit. Just be there in case I die. I'll give you some food, some alcohol. I just picture some poor, pathetic chump, about 140, just sitting on the couch. I wonder if he's ever going to get laid. Okay. In the days leading up to my appointment at Planned Parenthood, where I would be given a prescription for the abortion pill, I would wake up in the middle of the night, my pajamas soaked in sweat from nightmares that somehow the abortion didn't take, leaving me stuck with a baby I didn't want and couldn't afford, linked forever to some guy I'd met on OkCupid who refused to use a rubber. This actually, it's not true. You could just give the kid up. Hell, you could drop the kid off at a fire station. It's hyperbole. And they're playing the victim. They constantly play the victim. Some other YouTuber was commenting on this. Some other Google Plus person was showing this. Some other writer was writing about it. They constantly, no matter what they do, they constantly frame themselves as the victim. Constantly. Yeah. She even says, some guy I'd met on OkCupid. She met him. It's not like she was walking outside and some smooth-talking, James Bond-looking dude sort of swindled his way into her vagina. She went through all the trouble of opening an account, of putting up pictures and entering in information. I don't know if you pay for OkCupid. I don't know. But she went recruiting dick. She was recruiting dick on OkCupid. And then she acts like the guy's an asshole because she met him on OkCupid. When she was on OkCupid too. Yeah, you're just some dumb writing slut who doesn't care enough to take your birth control pill. And then when the guy refuses to use a condom, you just, okay, whatever. You were just too drunk. I was just too drunk to care about baby disease. Just too drunk. Yeah, whatever. Shove it up your baby hole, woman. All right. Going back. It's probably going to be a bad one. It's probably going to get low rating. This fear was only exacerbated when one night, while trying to binge watch my troubles away, I saw an episode of Private Practice about a woman who thought she had gotten an abortion and later found out that the doctor had botched it. I envisioned having to quit my fellowship and move home to California, since there was no way I could handle a baby in my current situation. I worried that my life was over. The pregnancy itself made me physically ill, and worrying only made me sicker. Then don't worry about it. No, it's just a baby. It's just a baby. Life's not over. Life's not over. Max 10 months. Max a year. Let's just say a year. Whatever. Moving that. But once I got an abortion, suddenly everything was fine again. She can go back to being a whore. She can go back to being a slut. Fantastic. But once I got an abortion, suddenly everything was fine again. My life went back to normal. Actually, it was better than it had. It was better than that. It was better than that. I had imagined in distressing detail the life that I had planned for myself completely unraveling. But I had handled the situation and taken back command of my own body and life. I felt powerful, as if there was no obstacle I couldn't surmount. I felt a deep sense of freedom, knowing that my only responsibility was to myself. I was overcome with gratitude and optimism and a newfound sense of self-control. I felt awesome. So she just had her own child chemically exterminated, chemically terminated, to the point where her uterus rejected it and it fell out of her own vagina. And what's she thinking about? Herself. She had taken back command of her own body. Women, how pathetic of individuals do you have to be to feel a fetus, your own child, is taking control away from you of your own body and life? How pathetic do you have to be? Seriously. That's like me blaming a small child for anything. If I came across a kid who was lost on the street, I have two choices. You know what? I could be like, screw that kid, it's not my fucking problem. Or if I want to help the kid out, I choose to help the kid out. It's called choice. But if I choose to help the kid out, and I'm standing there, I'm calling the cops, I'm like, hey, this kid, random kid on the street, lost. I'm standing here guarding him, making sure nothing happens to him while you come pick him up. I'm then not going to, like, some homeless guy comes walking by. He's like, hey, man, can you come help me do something? I'll be like, no, I'm watching this kid. I'm not going to complain that I chose to watch the kid. Like, oh, dude, I would come help you out, but this fucking kid's ruling my life. This kid is ruining my life. This kid I chose to involve myself with is ruining and controlling my life. I have no control over my life. It's this random child that has control over my life now. Yeah, you're fucking pathetic, ladies. Fucking pathetic. Moving on. So, naturally, I rolled my eyes at recent comments from Alan Parker Jr., a lawyer with anti-abortion group the Justice Foundation, in the New York Times. The abortion, quote, I'm quoting a quote, the abortion industry is trying to make it sound like abortion is a joyful experience, end quote. Parker told the Times, just days before the start of the biggest abortion case the Supreme Court has heard in a quarter century. But even women who say it was necessary say it was not joyful. It is a grief and a blackness. And hold on. She's quoting Parker. Hold on. But even women who say it was necessary say it was not joyful. It is a grief and a blackness, and it changes you. End quote. Side note, which I imagine you would. Alan Parker sounds like just a reasonable human being with some fucking compassion. narcissist. God. All right. My abortion did change me. See, he was right. Oh my God, ladies. The man was right. Oh my God. It's like a surprise to these women that men can think and that have a theory of mind that is possible for them to understand a situation a woman might be in and the effects of it. Unbelievable feminists. It's amazing, feminists, that a man who is not a woman can maybe put his mind, can maybe feel, empathize, think in a similar way as women. That's amazing. My abortion did change me. The ability to choose for myself when and if I want children was empowering. It affirmed for me that I'm in control of how I choose to live my life. You were in control when you forgot to take the damn birth control pill, you crazy woman. You were in control when you started an OkCupid account. You were in control when you called the guy to come over, get you drunk, and screw you. You were in control then. And you were in control when that same guy you called up, you spent hours with, you followed home because you were horny, because you forgot to take your damn birth control pills. You were in control when you asked him to wear a condom. When he said no, probably because he didn't have one, because he's one of these guys on OkCupid not thinking ahead, right? You were in control when you sort of, who gives a shit? Yeah, and you're going to blame it on your being too drunk. Oh, and I believe you did. You said, I was too drunk. He was in no condition to object. Well, maybe you shouldn't have put yourself in that position if you were going to be in no condition. Did he shove a funnel in your mouth, woman? Did he put a beer bong down your throat and force you to ingest 12 beers? No? Then shut up. Please. I'm sick and tired of you women acting like you're not adults. Moving on. There are plenty of situations in life in which control is out of our hands. But thanks to laws that recognize my right to do what I want with my own body, this was not one of them. Becoming pregnant was a grief and a blackness. Getting an abortion was just a relief. This is how twisted these modern-day feminist women are. This is how twisted they are. Pregnancy brought her grief and blackness. Right? If for normal women, pregnancy brought grief and blackness, why do they shove pictures of their children in everyone's damn faces? Why is it women act like a working uterus is some sort of prize to be advertising to every single friend, co-worker, family member, associate they have? Every single employee, every single student. Yeah. If for the majority of normal, sane women, a pregnancy brings grief and blackness, feminists, then why on earth do women show pictures of their children to complete strangers? Go on with the insanity. She says, getting an abortion was just a relief. It was just a relief? Really? Really? I've been in an abortion clinic a couple of times. There's no goddamn relief in it, woman. Not before, during, or after. For no one involved. No sane, rational human being who's psychologically healthy in the least. No sane, rational human being who's not delusional thinks an abortion is anything but a grief and a blackness. If you think abortion is a relief, or as you say, joyful, you're sick. You're sick. You're not normal. And you shouldn't be writing. You shouldn't be portrayed as someone to listen to or to look up to. You really shouldn't. Moving on. As the Supreme Court gears up to hear Whole Woman's Health versus Hellerstedt, a challenge to a Texas law that threatens to shutter the vast majority of the state's abortion clinics, anti-abortion activists have shifted tack moving away from demanding that states protect unborn babies and instead demanding protection from others. Those assholes. Those assholes. You mean the pro-life people want to protect the life of mothers? They sound like just a bunch of cock-sucking, misogynistic, woman-hating assholes. Are you starting to see how insane and stupid you sound? Are you starting to see it? Probably not. It's fusion. I should write for fusion. Better crap than this. Yeah, fusion. If you want me to tell you my 2 abortion clinic story, I'll do that shit. Send me an email. Cut me a check. I'll write you 30 pages easy. Alright, moving on. This is extremely clever politicking, playing into our deeply embedded cultural tendencies to protect women. And there it is. Deeply embedded, she says cultural, but they're cultural and biological, tendencies to protect women. Yeah, they're figuring you feminist bitches out. These pro-life people are figuring you out. They got distracted by your deflection of the best interests of the child, the tender years doctrine, that crap that you feminist, pro-abortion motherfuckers always throw out there. You always throw out when you lose the equality argument, like you always do, when you lose the philosophical argument, when you lose the ethical argument, when you lose the bodily autonomy argument, when you lose every single argument that has to do with individuals and individualist in a country that supports individualism. Damn it, I did it again. You go to the best interest of the child. But it was never been about the best interest of the child. That's what the pro-life people were doing. Why would you hurt harmless babies? Why would you hurt children? Yeah, they realized that tactic wasn't working. So they did what you feminists do. Women. Vagina worship. Gynocentrism. Gynotheism. We want to prevent abortion. We don't protect the lives of innocent, helpless children. No. We protect the lives of the women. That's the trick. And trust me, Democrats. Trust me, liberals. Trust me, social justice warriors and feminists. Your opponents have caught on to this damn trick. And they are in the process of twisting it as we speak. Even I'm doing this in my own personal life. Yes. Bill Cosby is the perfect example. To protect men, women, and children from harm, we will have to destroy the credibility of women. Bill Cosby is a perfect example of this. And there's countless others. UVA, Mattress Girl. To protect the lives of men, women, children, and families from the harm these crazy women can do by simply saying they're afraid, by simply crying rape, by simply crying, I regret, by simply manipulating, as you say, the deeply embedded cultural tendencies to protect women. By manipulating that tendency, the right will destroy women's credibility. We will protect children by protecting women from other women. And yeah, men will just be a bonus, because that's how men are viewed. Last. Women first, children second, men last. So yeah, to protect men, you have to protect women. Protect women from who? Other women. Catching on to this shit, feminists. Watch out. No, moving back. Whenever anti-abortion activists argue that women are just too vulnerable for abortions, as Emily Bazelon recently wrote in the New York Times Magazine, despite the lack of supporting evidence, the alarms ring, playing into our usual assumptions that the impulse to protect is benevolent, and perhaps that women are especially deserving of solicitude. What the fuck are you talking about? Oh, that's Emily. Yeah, catching on. And my God, this is a long article. Supreme Court Justice Anthony Kennedy, the swing vote on this week's abortion decision, himself troublingly hinted at this line of reasoning in his last opinion on abortion back in 2007, where he wrote, "Some women come to regret." It's weird. Okay, so she quotes and unquotes. I'm just going to read it straight through. Some women come to regret their choice of abortion, Kennedy wrote, in a decision so fraught with emotional consequence. Some doctors may prefer not to disclose precise details of the means that will be used, end quote. At the root of this argument is the retrograde idea that women like me need legal protection to make sure that we don't accidentally make the wrong choice and wind up in some sort of emotional tizzy. This sentiment, of course, reeks of old-school paternalism. Oh, fucking assholes. Oh, they want old-school paternalism. Oh, they want to be parents. They want to protect others that are younger than them. Assholes. I swear. As Baselin points out, there is no equivalent to damsel in distress for men, nor such a thing as legislation intended specifically to protect them, men. My abortion wasn't the wrong choice, but even if it had been, I would have figured that out, too. Honestly, guys, I'm doing just fine on my own. You just said you weren't. You just said you weren't, woman. You just said you were poverty-stricken because you quit your job so you could go to school, so you could then spend another 18 months at a low-paying fellowship where you're writing garbage on the internet. You were doing so not fine on your own, you had to call some, as you said, condomless douchebag from OkCupid. You had to use him for a few weeks for free food and drinks to talk to bitch and complain and moan. Oh my God, Albany is so different than New York. No friends. And then when you finally put out the sex wasn't good enough, and you dumped them. That's what's really going on here. You dumped them. Yeah, you weren't doing fine on your own at all. You were doing so not fine on your own, you had to call a coworker to come watch to see if you bled to death out of your vagina. How is that doing fine on your own, crazy woman? You had to ask a complete stranger, you had to bribe someone with pizza and liquor to come sit in your home and make sure you don't wind up a dead body in your own bathroom where you're bleeding out your vagina. Where you're bleeding out your own child onto the floor of your bathroom. That doesn't sound just fine to me. That sounds in pretty bad shape, actually. Moving on, I'm sorry. I get a little emotional about women and their defense of murdering their own children. We're almost at the end of this, guys. I will never forget the feeling of panic and terror that comes with the sensation that you are losing control of your own body. It feels like being invaded. You feel powerless, helpless, You mean how you felt when you were lying on the floor of your bathroom, bleeding out of your private parts. Panic and terror, the feelings of panic and terror did not strike you? There was no sensation of losing control of your body when you were bleeding out of your own vagina uncontrollably. You didn't feel powerless or helpless or defenseless, possibly dying on the floor of your own home with no one to keep you company but a complete stranger. All right, moving on. This is how sick these women are. Certainly, for some reason, the decision to get an abortion is difficult, and going through with it can be equal. That sentence sounds sociopathic. Certainly, for some women. Sorry, my apologies, Kristen. Certainly, for some women, the decision to get an abortion is difficult, and going through with it can be equally traumatic. For me, though, it was neither. Okay, you are. I'm not sorry. You are a sociopath. I never wavered in my decision, and I have not once regretted it since. You don't regret this sort of awkward working situation you now have? You don't fucking regret that? If the only person I could turn to, let's say I had a polyp removed from my colon. Let's say I had a colonectomy, right? And, some stuff. Let's say I was possibly bleeding uncontrollably out of my anus. Right. And the doctor was like, hey, you could bleed out of your anus to death. I'm going to give you this medicine, right, post-surgery. It'll prevent you from bleeding to death out of your anus. But it may not work. So what you're going to need to do is you're going to need to take this, get the hell out of my office, go home. And you're going to need to find someone to make sure you don't bleed out of your anus to death, bleed to death out of your anus. And the only person I knew in town was a coworker. I would feel pretty goddamn awkward. For the rest of my time working at that place, I'd feel pretty kind of fucking weird. Hey bro, can you come over here? I'll get you some pizza, I'll get you some blues, I'll get you some beer. Can you just make sure I don't bleed to death from my anus? Just sort of hang out in my house for like 8 to 12 hours. I'll be in the bathroom, bleeding out of my anus. But you just sit and watch the football, play the video games. I'll text you every 30 minutes. So I'm not dead. Yeah, that would be pretty weird. And I have to see that guy around the office for another year and a half. Yeah, fuck that noise. I would regret that for sure. Okay. The right to make that decision, to take control of my body and my life, allowed me to pursue the life I wanted and to become the person that I wanted to be. I wouldn't call that dark or painful. Actually, I think I would call it joy. What? You had control of your body when you had the birth control. You had control of your body when you used your fingers to enter in the keystrokes to get on to OkCupid. You had control of your body when you were calling the man to come over, get you drunk, take you out to eat, and then you were in control of your body when you allowed him to have sex with you unprotected. Oh, you were also in control of your body when you forgot to take a pill. Multiple days. Right. And the fact that that mistake brings you joy? It's like me saying, you know what? I like playing guitar, but I'm going to cut my left hand off. Sure, probably a mistake, but you know what I take joy from? I take joy from the fact that I have the right, I'm entitled to cut my own hand off and no one's going to give me shit about it. No. Everyone I know would give me shit about it. If I just took a butcher knife, a cleaver, just lopped my left hand off, every person I know would say, well, that was a huge mistake. You probably shouldn't have done that. We kind of really liked you playing the music. You know, when you did. Why'd you do it? I it wasn't probably the best decision, but I find joy in the fact that I have the power, the ability to take a cleaver and cut my own hand off. I'm going to look on the bright side. Yeah, that would be insane. You're insane, Kristen. You're insane. Yours truly, M.